Bismillah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of A Sister's Ramadan with me, your host, Naima B. Robert. I'd like to thank you for joining me for today's show. Now, this season of A Sister's Ramadan, as you know, is all about addressing the most common challenges that sisters face and offering inspiration, motivation, and practical solutions. So for today's episode, we will be responding to the following question that came in during our research. How can I juggle caring for young children and making the most of Ramadan? Look, if we are blessed with children, there will be Ramadans where we are caring for babies, toddlers, preschoolers, primary schoolers, and this can take up the majority of our time. In fact, this is the number one complaint that sisters in this situation have. Not enough time. Enough time to read Quran, to pray their sunnahs, to rest, to pray Taraweeh, not to mention the practical considerations of young children's meal times, play, and sleep schedules. So how can we balance the needs of our young families with our own personal needs for spiritual nourishment during this blessed month? So as usual, I have two types of advice for you, the reframing advice and the practical advice. So first, for the reframe, the fresh perspective, the new paradigm. Acknowledge that this is a necessary rite of passage for all of those blessed with children. And even though you may feel alone and isolated, you are not alone. Muslim mothers throughout the ages have been exactly where you are right now. So take comfort from that fact. Also, this shall pass. These days and nights that feel endless will end. Your babies will become toddlers, your toddlers will go to preschool, who will go to primary school, and soon you will have teenagers who are fasting alongside you. This is simply a test that you will pass, inshallah. I want you to remind yourself of that again and again and again. This is a blessing from Allah. This time is short, and I have what it takes to get through this, bi-idhnillah. Right, that's the battle of the mind. Now let's go to the practical advice. I have 10 tips for you as usual, and tip number 1 is share Ramadan with your children. If you insist on keeping Ramadan for yourself as your own personal journey, you are going to feel frustrated that your children still need you, they want to play, they want to go, they want to talk, and you are going to want to push them away. Sis, bring them into your world. Make teaching them and getting them excited about Ramadan part of your ibadah, part of the reward that you get for their tarbiyah, bringing them up upon the sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Tip number 2, create Ramadan vibes in the home. We are spoilt for choice when it comes to children's books about Ramadan, Quran apps, Quran recordings, nasheed, decor, foods. We are literally able to pick from any tradition that we want in order to give our children the feeling that it is Ramadan. And we as mums are best placed to do this. So if you have young children, use these sensory elements to get your children immersed in the experience, the sights, the sounds, the smells, and the tastes of Ramadan so that they bank those memories and look forward to Ramadan next year, inshallah. This is something that you get to do as a mom. And trust me, there will come a time when they're not interested in any of that anymore. So make the most of it if you have a young family. Tip number 3. Get them involved in practical ways too. Yes, there's vibes. Yes, there's fun and enjoyment, but Ramadan also requires practical work. I suggest that you get your children involved. Help them to decide the decor with you. Consult them when you're planning menus for suhoor, for iftar. Ask them what they would like you to prepare, especially if they're giving fasting a try for the first time. For slightly older children, you may want to get them involved in food prep, whether it is washing the vegetables or preparing the salad or chopping up something for later on. You can do that all with them, inshallah. And then, of course, very importantly, help them to get into the rhythm of wudu and salah. It doesn't really matter how old they are, as long as they start to understand what wudu is, what salah is, and they put your prayer garment over them and do somersaults on the prayer mat. It is all part of their experience, inshallah. Tip number 4, Prep those meals in advance. I've said this earlier in the show, but I am going to say it again because if you do have young children, they are going to have a very different meal schedule from you. Their breakfast, their mid-morning snack, their lunch, their afternoon snacks. So in order for you to not be constantly in the kitchen, making sure that they have what they have, prep their meals in advance, cut up the snacks, prepare the snacks, put them in the fridge the night before so that you have a little bit more time to carve out for your own worship, inshallah. Tip number 5, create a special Ramadan schedule with them where you can plan your ibadah for when they will be napping or playing at a friend's house, or if they're involved in some sort of activities. You can take that time for yourself to make sure that you read your Quran in that time, that you get to pray your sunnahs, or any other acts of ibadah that you'd like to do. Let it work around their schedule. Another wonderful thing on tip number 6 is to encourage good deeds in your children. Encourage them to understand the barakah of Ramadan. Encourage them to start having their own deeds that they want to do in their own checklist. Some mums will get a little jar and children will put their deeds in that jar. They can have a list that they tick off. You can give them small rewards as they go through the day. We are trying to bring up children who understand the blessings of this month and who are thirsty for the rewards, who are eager for the rewards, inshallah. So us going a short way towards this by encouraging a vibe within the house where it's Ramadan, we do special good deeds and there's special rewards. This is something that you get to do again as a mum, because when they're young, they love it. And when they're older, it really isn't as relevant anymore. Another thing I would say, tip number 7, is start teaching your children some short surahs. You would be very surprised at how much children can memorize. Why not make the most of Ramadan and even your own Quran schedule by passing on some of the knowledge that you have of the Quran to your children? There are few things as gratifying as having your children reciting Quran after you and having memorized the Quran from you, inshallah. So please do not miss out on this benefit, and don't assume that your children are too young to understand or to memorize any Quran at this stage right now. Tip number 8, for those of you with young children, let them try out fasting. Whether it's that they go for a couple of hours, or they go mid-morning without their snack, or have their lunch and then don't eat until it's iftar time, give them a chance to open their fast with everybody else. This can be a very exciting thing for young children, and it can also help you with your mission of connecting your children to Ramadan and its traditions. So that's something else that you can definitely do. Number 9 is prepare for Eid together. So often you'll find that sisters take on all of the preparations for Eid by themselves, getting the clothes, deciding what's going to happen, the sweets, the cakes, the baking. Get your children involved. Let them choose their Eid outfit. Let them think of things that they would like to do, presents they would like to give. Let them also feel the joy of Eid. And again, as I've been saying this whole episode, this is a reward for you. You get the reward because these are pathways in your child's mind that you are laying down for their future, inshallah. And then 10, my last tip, number 10, very, very important. If you don't take any other advice than this from today, make sure you look after yourself. Make sure that you are hydrated, sis, that you are nourished correctly, that you're getting enough rest and enough movement. And try to relax into this season. The last thing you want is to be a stressed and frustrated and resentful mama. These are your children. They are a barakah and a blessing. Don't compare your pre-baby, pre-mummy worship to who you are now, and don't compare yourself to what other sisters may or may not be doing. You are on your own path, your own journey, and you need to make most of this particular chapter of life and relax into it. Allah knows what you're trying to do, and He knows. So you make intention to do the right thing, make intention to do your very best, but allow yourself to be at ease with the results. Because inshallah, whatever you do with the right intentions, it is going to be blessed, bi'idhnillah. Did these tips make sense to you? Were any of them useful? Are there any mums out there that need to hear some of what we shared in today's episode? If so, please give us a shout online. Tag Eman Channel and me, Naima B. Robert, to make sure that we get to see your conversations and your comments. And don't forget that we have a handbook that accompanies the series. And in that handbook, you'll find the notes from each episode, all the relevant links, and also reflection questions for you to deepen your understanding of the topics we've addressed. So visit the link on the screen to download your copy. And that's it from me. Jazakallahu khairan for joining me. It has been a pleasure sharing these tips and practical advice with you, and I can't wait to see you on next week's episode of A Sister's Ramadan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.